sharing our beliefs and helping people and reaching out to just a variety of people. You guys should get that funny look off your face. It wasn't just you. Yeah, what you looking like that for?
I didn't know which Don you were looking at.
This Don didn't have fun. Did you have fun on your face too? You look normal.
We couldn't see it.
Oh.
It's
Okay, well, all right. You guys all right today?
Yeah.
Everybody doing okay? Candace?
Here.
Yeah? Here. All right, that's a good thing. Don Medford, is that Don Medford back there?
Oh, there's 3 in a row.
There's too many Dons in here, isn't it? Okay, well, the goal of as we reach out, and as I've been preaching the last couple of weeks, we talked about reaching out and our ability to talk with people, share with people, help people, really. There's a lot of people that are struggling with various things, not just because of the recession, but I think their understanding of the way our Western culture has sort of tainted the God experience. That's really what I want to talk about today, is the God experience and what exactly that is, because I think in our society today we have a hard time separating what is religious ritual versus what is spirituality and us being spiritual beings. And so I want to kind of look at that because there are so many different rituals out there. And we have to be able to, and as you have conversations with people around in the areas in your community, you have to be able to separate the two. Because unfortunately, and to no surprise of any, man makes God look bad. You follow what I'm saying? We make God look bad by our traditions and the things that we practice that supersede His Word. We naturally create tradition, rules, take our biases and try to force fit them into the church. And it changes what the Word of God says. It begins to change and do various things. Now, this is an old scenario because we read it throughout the Bible. And even when Israel, if you remember, when they were captured by Egypt and they were enslaved under Pharaoh's rule, they had to do everything the way Pharaoh said do it. So they understood bondage. But then when they were rescued, they went out in the wilderness and established their own stuff outside of the very God who rescued them. So God in the beginning rescued them from Egypt. They saw God do a lot of miracles and some powerful stuff. They got out into the wilderness, and instead of trusting the God that just escaped them from what they thought was an impossible scenario, they began to say, oh my goodness, we're out here, we're going to die, where's the food, where's the this, where's the that, Moses, why'd you do this to us, you tricked us. A lot of that going on afterwards. But then even to that point, it got worse as the years went on. For the first 2 years, a lot of things got worse. They actually began to establish their own way of doing things. One of the things that they did out there was they had decided at a certain point that anytime trouble happened, they wanted to go back to the old way. And the old way was Egypt. They would always say, you know what, we should just go back to Egypt. It's better. Egypt was better than this. Well, what exactly was Egypt better than? Was Egypt better than serving the God who had rescued them from bondage? That couldn't be what they meant. But what was Egypt better than? We need to examine that this morning. That's really the question. Because that question fits with what people who are unchurched would say now. My life is better without that stuff. Well, what stuff? They're talking about church, and they connect it with God. And they will begin, when you ask, to share with you experiences that happened to them at some church. And they'll tell you what the people did and what they said and what their rules were and how they were excluded. This is what they do. And so then our job would be to say, you know, we got to separate God and man. We have to separate them so that you'll see God clear. You'll see God's plan. You'll see God's intent. And most importantly, you'll see how we're messing it up. So that hopefully you can learn from our mistakes, and then jump in and make things better. Serving God with gladness and not putting too much into what man says or does. So let's look at some tradition first. What are some of the religious traditions that you know of? Are there any religious traditions that you know of? Anywhere on the West Coast or Western culture. I'm not talking about Eastern culture because I just want to stick with Christianity. So the Western culture, here where we are, what kind of religious traditions are you aware of? The holidays, I like that. Give me some.
The Easter, Christmas.
Let's go with Easter. Now, what's wrong with Easter?
Well, we are to celebrate Christ's death, burial, and resurrection every Sunday, not one specific day, as in Easter.
Now, is Easter to celebrate the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus?
Originally, I don't believe it was. I think it was about Easter bunnies.
We'd be safer to do the Easter bunny thing than we would the religious part. What's wrong with Easter? Anybody? Linda's making the point that we should be celebrating that all the time anyway. If it is to celebrate the death, burial, and resurrection, we should be celebrating that, living our lives in the resurrection, hoping when ours comes. But religious tradition has told us something different. What has religious tradition told us?
You just do it one day a year.
Well, and actually, along with Easter, they have something else before Easter. What do they call it? Does anybody know?
Lent.
Yeah, well, see, they jump right on that. Well, and you guys know when they talk about Advent? You guys heard of Advent before? No? All right. You guys scared to talk about this or what? They talk about Advent, and then there are things that they do. Lent, what's Lent about?
You have to give up something.
You have to give up something. Like you purpose something, you're going to go for this period of time, I'm going to give this up. Symbolizing what? Sacrifice, self-denial, absolutely. And right before Lent, you have what?
Ash Wednesday.
Well, before that? Fat Tuesday, yeah. And on that day, you can just go all out and do whatever you want to do. Get the full of whatever it is you're going to give up and then give it up. And so, in certain places, you would actually be frowned upon if you didn't participate. There's something wrong with you. You don't love God. Did the Bible authorize Lent?
Mm-mm.
How about Ash Wednesday? What's Ash Wednesday about?
You go to church and you get ash.
Get some ashes? Yeah.
I went to college and saw that and I kept trying to wipe off.
Oh, okay. What is Ash Wednesday about? Well, thanks. Okay. What are the ashes for? Do we need ashes to begin Lent? Well, what's the ashes for? There is a reason.
Humility.
It's supposed to be, because what they do is, as a matter of fact, what is said, oh, I forgot it, sorry. It has something to do with, I'm returning to the dust that I was, yes, Linda?
Remember me that thou art dust, and you the dust.
That's it. Yes, yes. Linda, you guys met Linda Kramer and Mike Kramer, good folks here. Linda's a librarian. I expect her to have all the answers. So.
Now the pressure's on.
But the interesting thing is, when we look at what the symbol is, it's a good symbol, isn't it? To remember where. So if I'm really remembering that that's all I am, I then can appreciate all of what God is. That's the concept behind it. That's not bad. It's actually not bad to give up something as a form of sacrifice. It helps us with self-control. We struggle with self-control, obviously, don't we? All right, well, I struggle with it.
Don't they make the ashes out of
From Palm Sunday? Yes, they do. And then if you get some real true ashes, a priest somewhere will bless them.
Yes.
And then you have some ashes then, buddy. Now, I'm not sure if they really did the palms. They could have did the ashtrays. I don't know. I've seen them, and they look really refined ashes, maybe pureed ashes. Nice, clean ashes, they look like, at least. But the idea is the concepts of